Hi there, and welcome to another episode of AskTom. My name's Tom Whitlock. I'm a business development consultant for Clifton Asset Management. We're a team of financial advisors, pension specialists, and the experts behind the commercial finance option known as pension-led funding. In today's episode, I was very pleased to be joined by Adam Tyler, Chairman of the Financial Intermediary and Brokers Association. We had a conversation around the challenges that were put to brokers and financial professionals in 2020, the lessons they'll have learned, and how they can put those to best use in 2021 for them and their clients. We'll join the interview now.
Adam Tyler, Executive Chairman of the Financial Intermediary and Broker Association.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Adam, welcome to AskTom. First question we'd like to put to you. For 2020, we certainly experienced a year like no other, very much like the rest of the financial industry. What lessons do you see that were learned during 2020 by brokers and financial professionals, and how can they put those to use going forward?
I think you really want to say, where do we start? I mean, where do we start? I think if we go back 12 months ago, obviously we find everything that's happened is completely unbelievable. But certainly the end of March, I wouldn't have expected to have a year like we had. And I mean that from a positive perspective, not from a wow, I can't believe we're in this sort of worldwide pandemic, but from I can't believe that how things turned out. And you don't want to say that things turned out well, but they did. They did against a very, very bad backdrop, that was going on with every other sort of walk of life. But it was a good year. It was a good year, particularly for specialist property finance, which I think was just a knock-on effect from the residential mortgage market. And I'll talk a bit later on about C-bills and bounce-back loans and how that played its part in the overall specialist finance world. But I think one of the big changes was technology. I think what's happened is what we expected to happen over the next 5-10 years happened within a matter of weeks, months. It really did. It was the technology that changed everything. And at FIBA, we were lucky to have access to that technology from day one. So, this, for example, I mean, we used a videographer only in January of 2020 to set up FIBA TV. And then a few months later, we're doing it over Teams. Now, that for me was one of the biggest changes that I saw, was the use of technology, not only from us as organisations, but from individuals, from brokers who actually embraced this and thought, well, this is a way that we can now start to talk to our lender community, we can talk to our customers, we can visit webinars. I mean, we ran a series of webinars only in May. We had 1,000 brokers attend 4 webinars. 1,000 brokers, which is incredible. And the timing of those, 295 on a sunny Friday afternoon, all sitting in front of the computer screen. Brilliant, So that for me was one of the big changes. Existing customers, quite easy. New customers, I think, has been a little bit harder to adapt and to meet, because you can't replicate that personal touch of meeting somebody for the first time over a coffee. It doesn't have the same role to play. So that was probably one of the more difficult things that we had to deal with. That was a harder lesson to learn. I think lenders have adapted. Wow, their ability to communicate with their broker population, their customers, solicitors, valuers. I mean, what a change. If I'd said to you 12 months ago that was going to happen, we wouldn't have believed that we could embrace that change so quickly. And of course we did. And I think also people have tended to have a wider look at the market. They've sat back and said, I can now look at other things. I don't necessarily have to just go down one route. I can embrace other things. And we did that at FIBA. I mean, I don't want to use it, but I did. We had a lot of people take up will writing. It was a course we ran and people took that up. So for me, I think the lessons that we've learned is that we have embraced technology, we can communicate a lot better, and we can make things a lot more efficient.
Absolutely. And with those lessons, I think going into 2021, it sort of certainly showed that there's a resilience in the market to carry on against difficult times. What do you see as your outlook for 2021 with those lessons in mind?
I think the big thing is less travel. And, and I can take that from a personal standpoint, that for somebody who would travel 2 or 3 times a week to London and back, I mean, now I've been twice since March 2020 to London. And again, you miss the interaction, but, that less travel gives you more time. It makes your expenses are obviously a lot less. But I suppose if you put your green hat on, it's good for the environment. I mean, all those I mean, I used to use the train, but there's far less train journeys, and certainly the people who drove. So I think all of those things that have come out of my sort of initial interpretation of what happened. But the outlook for 2021, I can't see us really re-engaging, or even in the future, re-engaging in those levels of particularly travel. I think that's going to be something that's going to be very different from now on. I think customer sourcing as well. I mean, a lot of that was done by the interaction, going to different meetings, meeting people, whether it's, through accountants or solicitors or networking groups. People have had to use more technology again, I suppose, internet sourcing, and the same with the customer population. Whilst commercial finance in particular was quite difficult to find online, they've now had to adapt to bring that in as a tool as an SME customer to say, well, how do I find these lenders? How do I find the finance? And so again, I think that's embracing more of the use of, I want to just glibly say the internet for commercial finance, but that's what's happened. Whereas again, that was more of a personal thing. And I think the other thing is the ability for people to learn about new lenders and new products and new people that are out there. I think that's a lesson we've all learned, that if we want to know something, we can get in touch with somebody, we can have a conversation, and diary planning so much easier. I mean, if you and I wanted to get together to do this, we'd spend weeks trying to get something in the diary for the first conversation. Now we can say, should we do this tomorrow? And we can do it tomorrow.
Exactly. Absolutely. Much more nimble nowadays, I think, with regards to this sort of thing, and people much more open to the opportunities that are out there that they may not have considered. Now, when it comes to FIBA, we get a lot of our commercial finance network watching. Is there any message you want to give from the organisation to the viewers at home?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing obviously a change in regulation. I think the regulation, I mean, today we've obviously got some changes happening in regulation today on fee disclosure, and there's going to be more and more of those. And really, as a broker, you need to keep up to date with the different things that are happening. So as an organisation at FIBA, that's part of the Simply Biz Group, which is a compliance organisation. I think it's important that people have the finger on the pulse and understand all these changes that are happening. And also the opportunities. I mean, if you look at specialist property finance, the repurposing of perhaps some of the buildings that we take for granted would be for use as retail or office, they're going to need changing, and they can't make those changes without specialist finance, and you can't really access specialist finance without using intermediaries. So from an organisation that looks after well over 1,000 intermediaries, I think it's important that people, one, they understand what they need to do and do it compliantly, but secondly, who's doing what, who's lending what, who's in what space. So I think having people together as a group is important, because that group structure, that being part of something when you're just an individual broker, it makes it a lot easier to be able to access not only the benefits, but access things that you couldn't necessarily get on your own.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Really, really appreciate your time there for coming on AskTom. You can check out FIBA at the website. I'll make sure there's a link to that in the description below. Also in the description will be links to our websites if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Clifton, or could do for yourself or for one of your clients. Remember to subscribe to the AskTom channel and to check out our videos released every Thursday morning. For now, thank you very much for your time, take care, and goodbye.